What? Is she that cheap? He thundered angrily. For once, I thought maybe she was in love with the son of an emir. That would have made me feel better. But a butcher, that's a slap in the face. I won't let him win over me. Akila is my woman. Once upon a time, in a beautiful kingdom called Kibam, which was located in the northern part of Nigeria, there lived a very influential man named Alhaji Ibrahim. Alhaji Ibrahim was a well-respected figure in the entire community, and people both admired and feared him. Alhaji Ibrahim was a mighty warrior who fought bravely for the freedom of his village, Kibam, when it was attacked by terrorists. During this dark time, the villagers lived in constant fear, rarely stepping out of their homes. Every day there were reports of death, and the community was gripped by terror. Alhaji Ibrahim's father, Sofida, had also been a warrior. He had trained his son to be strong and courageous. When Tofida passed away, Alhaji Ibrahim took his place as the village's protector. That same year, war came to Kibam. Among all the men who went to fight, only Alhaji Ibrahim returned alive. He fought like a fierce lion and defeated their oppressors. However, he was injured in the battle and walked with a limp, a permanent reminder of his bravery. Alhaji Ibrahim's heroic actions and his commitment to protecting his people made him a legend in Kibam. His story was told to children as an example of courage and selflessness, and his legacy lived on in the hearts of the villagers. The king, known as Emir, was so proud of Ibrahim that he gave him his beautiful daughter as wife. He also gave Ibrahim lots of lands and many cattle. This is how Ibrahim became very rich, with vast farmlands and countless cattle. The entire village almost revered him. He was feared and respected by all. Even though Ibrahim could no longer fight, he trained the young men who now defended their kingdom from terror. His wisdom and experience made them strong warriors, just like he had been. Ibrahim, now called Alhaji Ibrahim, had 8 children. He had 7 handsome sons and 1 beautiful daughter named Akila. He loved Akila very much. She was the apple of his eye. He never ate any food without leaving some meat on his plate for her. Every evening, while he rested under the shade of a tree, Akila would sit beside him, listening to his stories about the wars. She enjoyed these stories so much that sometimes she wished she were a man so she could fight and defend her people just like her father. She admired him deeply. Nothing Akila ever did was wrong in the eyes of Alhaji Ibrahim. He was very protective of her and never allowed her brothers to lay a hand on her. However, he made sure Akila was raised the right way. He was a strict man and had no tolerance for disobedience. His children knew this well and always tried their best to follow his rules because they understood how he could be when he was angry. Akila grew up into a very beautiful damsel, well-mannered and sweet. The entire village loved her because she was so kind and respectful. She enjoyed taking care of the cattle in the fields. Even though her father didn't want her to do such work, she would often take food to her brothers on the farm and spend time feeding the cattle. She loved doing all the things her brothers did. When she was younger, she once asked her mother why she wasn't born a boy. Her mother was surprised by this question and replied, "If you know how beautiful you are, you would never wish to be a boy." From the age of 12, many suitors began coming to ask for Akila's hand in marriage. However, her father always refused them. He believed Akila should not be a child bride. As the years passed, Akila continued to be a shining light in the village, admired for her beauty, kindness, and strength. Her father's love and guidance helped shape her into a wonderful young woman, beloved by all. Soon, Akila became old enough for marriage. Alhaji Ibrahim wanted the very best for his daughter. He had a very wealthy friend named Alhaji Ahmed. They had been doing business together for many years and respected each other greatly. Ahmed had a son named Musa. Ibrahim remembered Musa from when he was a young boy, but Alhaji Ahmed had sent him to a foreign land to get the best education possible so he could take over the family business. Ahmed wanted a better life for Musa than the one they had in the village. Alhaji Ahmed loved Akila very much and always told Ibrahim that he wanted Musa to marry her. At first, Ibrahim thought it was a joke and would laugh it off. But one day, Ahmed invited him to his home for a serious talk. "My son Musa is returning from the white man's land. I want him to meet your daughter as soon as he comes back. I would love for them to get married. She would make a wonderful wife." Ibrahim saw this as a way to secure a good future for his daughter. Alhaji Ahmed had lots of money, and he knew Akila would never have to suffer. He thought it was a good idea, not just because of Ahmed's money, but also because he felt it could benefit him personally. When Musa returned, the two families quickly arranged a dinner. Aisha, Akila's mother, had already told Akila a lot about Musa. "He is so handsome, tall, educated, and from a good family," she said. Aisha also liked Musa for their daughter. Akila was very excited to meet him. That evening, when Alhaji Ahmed arrived with Musa, Akila was inside her hut. She heard voices and peeked through the window. Butterflies fluttered in her stomach. The young man looked so clean and handsome, just as her mother had said. She waited until she was called. As they sat to eat, Musa began sharing his experiences in the white man's land. At first, Akila seemed intrigued, but soon she thought he sounded arrogant, more like he was showing off than telling a story. Her younger brother Salisu was fascinated, his eyes glued to Musa's lips as he boasted about his intelligence and achievements. Akila wondered how the elders were enjoying the story. If there was anything, this man looked very stupid. To her, he was just boring and proud. After the meal, Musa asked Akila to take a walk with him. As they strolled through Ibrahim's compound, Musa couldn't stop talking. He bragged about how all the girls in the village loved and admired him for his looks. "You are so lucky to have caught my fancy," he said to Akila. This was a last straw for her. "I'm sorry, I have to return to my hut," she said. "But I'm your fiancé. We need to get to know each other, Musa replied. I'm not done talking. I feel sick, she lied. Please, allow me to go. Before he could say another word, she had run off. Musa stood there, stunned. His pride was bruised. Who did Akila think she was? He wouldn't let himself be treated like trash. He would show her why he was called Musa Ahmed. He walked into Ibrahim's living room, where his father and Ibrahim were talking, and told his father that he wanted to leave. I thought you were enjoying your evening with Akila, his father asked. Can you believe she walked away from me in the middle of a conversation? Musa replied angrily. What? Ibrahim said, looking shocked. When did Akila become so rude? Don't worry, Alhaji, Ahmed interrupted. They are still getting to know each other and will eventually understand each other. You know how it is. The two men ended their conversation and headed back home, with Musa still fuming. Akila, Musa said you walked out on him in the middle of a conversation, Ibrahim asked when his friend had left. Papa, did he call that a conversation? I was losing my breath. You know, he talks too much and none of his words makes any sense to me. You heard him when we were eating, right? I only needed fresh air, Akila said, trying to defend her actions. That was rude, Akila. He was very angry. Listen to me. A woman is under a man, and it's disrespectful to walk out on your husband or fiancé. Okay, Papa. I'm sorry, she said. You should go and apologize to him tomorrow. Yes, Papa. Akila was very angry, but she wouldn't show it. She dared not disrespect her father. The next day, Akila visited Musa. He was still very angry when she arrived, and they sat in front of a beautiful hut. I came to apologize for yesterday, she began. I know I was wrong and shouldn't have walked out on you. Musa smiled proudly. It's okay. I don't blame you. Growing up in the village, you wouldn't understand that walking out in the midst of a conversation is very rude. It's not your fault. Akila felt a surge of anger. Did Musa just talk down on her? She bit her lower lip, trying to hold in her frustration. She didn't want to do anything that would make him run off to her father like a child again. The last thing she wanted was to come back and apologize to him another time. What is wrong? Musa asked. No, nothing, Akila replied, faking a smile. I have to leave now. No, please sit and let's have lunch together, Musa pleaded. Reluctantly, Akila sat down. She didn't want to, but she couldn't disrespect the almighty Musa. She would have loved to have a book and pen with her, as she would rather call it a lecture rather than a lunch. She could hardly swallow a spoonful of rice as Musa continued lecturing her on how an ideal woman should behave. He went on and on, oblivious to her discomfort. At the end of what felt like endless lectures, Akila thanked him politely and then walked back home. Inside, she was boiling with anger. But she kept her composure, knowing she had done her duty and wouldn't have to face another apology. Mama, I don't like Musa, Akila said one afternoon while they were making lunch. Musa, Haba Akila, do you know that Ahmed's family is one of the richest in Kibam? Your father was worried that Musa wouldn't like you, but he does. We are very lucky and he's a good catch too. You see, when I married your father, it was awkward at first. We weren't in love with each other, but we learned to love ourselves. That's how marriage works. As you live together, you get to understand yourselves better and you get to love yourselves. Mama, I don't want to marry a man I don't love. I still don't like Musa. Your father would be so angry if you refuse to marry Musa. Akila was drifting into sadness. This was not the kind of love life she had pictured in her head while growing up. The next afternoon, Musa visited Akila with a gift. She pretended to be happy as she took it out from the box. It was an expensive piece of clothes and it looked so beautiful. I love it, she said. It's so beautiful. No, you don't look pleased, Musa replied. This clothes is handmade and not factory made. It is so expensive and only 2 women in the entire kingdom has it. You and the emir's wife. Wow, Akila exclaimed softly. I'm sorry if I don't look pleased, but your attitude is becoming unbearable. You are so condescending and I won't allow you run down my ego. I understand that I'm just a woman, but I should be allowed to express how I feel. My father has money and I'm not moved by luxury. I just want to live a simple life and love a simple man. Musa, you are too complicated for my liking, she finished sadly. Musa was silent. Once again, he lacked words to say. The sad thing was that he had fallen in love with Akila, but his pride wouldn't allow him to express his feelings properly. In his mind, he thought, who does she think she is? He packed his gifts. I guess I'll give my gifts to someone who would appreciate it. With that, he jumped on his horse and rode off angrily. Akila watched him as he vanished. She would never wish her enemy this man as husband. She went into her hut, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. I don't understand what is wrong with your daughter, Alhaji Ibrahim said that evening, his voice raised angrily. What has she done this time? Aisha asked. Take a look at this, he said, waving a piece of clothes. Akila rejected Musa's gifts. My dear, please be calm. She told me she didn't like Musa. Why don't we listen to her and find out her reasons? Aisha suggested. Nonsense. That's nonsense, Alhaji exclaimed. Do you know how many families are wishing to give their daughters to Musa? I have an agreement with Alhaji Ahmed, and Akila must marry Musa. You know about our financial crisis. Akato caught the flu, and I have lost billions of naira. I have worked so hard to get to this point, and Alhaji Ahmed is our only escape. That would also mean a good life for Akila. Talk sense into your daughter, he thundered as he stormed out of the room. Aisha sat on the sofa, confused and worried. She knew one thing for sure. Akila was as stubborn as her father, and it would be very difficult to convince her once she made up her mind. Aisha sighed deeply, wondering how to bridge the gap between her husband's demands and her daughter's wishes. She knew she had to talk to Akila, but she also understood how important this marriage was for their family's future. It was a delicate situation, and Aisha felt the heavy weight of it pressing down on her. As she sat there, she thought about how to approach Akila. She needed to find a way to explain the family's predicament without making Akila feel trapped. Aisha hoped that through patience and understanding, she could help her daughter see the bigger picture, while also respecting her feelings. It was a challenging task, but for the sake of their family's future, Aisha was determined to try. One afternoon, Aisha asked Akila to take food to her brothers in the farm. Akila was thrilled to have a break from the pressure at home. She dressed well and carried the baskets, eager to see the farm. She had missed it so much. As she walked through the bushy paths, she suddenly heard a man screaming. At first, she was scared, not knowing what was happening, but she decided to move closer, sensing that the man needed help. As she approached, she saw a young man on the ground, writhing in pain. He had just been bitten by a snake. Akila felt a surge of pity for him and quickly began searching for a specific leaf that her father had shown her when she was younger. It was an anti-snake poison leaf that would also help relieve the pain. It didn't take long for her to find it among the grasses. She applied it to the surface of the injury and gave him some to chew. As both sat under a tree for a while, Akila wanted to make sure he was okay before continuing her journey. Soon, he began to feel better. Akila was relieved and the young man thanked her profusely. "My name is Hassan, and you?" "Akila," she replied. "I'm the daughter of Alhaji Ibrahim." "Are you serious? You mean Alhaji Ibrahim, the hero of our kingdom?" "I feel like I'm with a goddess," he said, bowing slightly. Akila laughed loudly. "I'm not a hero. My father is." "I know, but the daughter of a hero is always a hero. I also wanted to be a warrior, but my mother wouldn't let me because I am an only child. My father died in the war, and she's cared for me." "I would have loved to be a warrior too," Akila said. "You don't mean it?" Hassan asked, surprised. "I do," Akila replied. "I respect my father so much, and sometimes I wish I could be a hero like him." "This is interesting," Hassan said with a smile. "I would love to meet your father one day. He is my idol. Please tell him that I'm so proud of him and thank you for saving my life." "I see you are headed somewhere." "Oh my gosh, I was taking food to my brothers." She stood up immediately and rushed off. "I wish to see you some other time," Hassan shouted after her, unable to stop smiling. Akila was so beautiful, and he had never seen such beauty before. He watched her until she vanished from his sight, his heart full of admiration and gratitude. Akila sat in front of her hut under the moonlight, lost in thoughts of Hassan. He was so handsome and lively, and his heart seemed as sweet as his smile. This was the type of man she always dreamed of. She couldn't stop thinking about him. She didn't realize she was smiling until her mother touched her, bringing her back to reality. "Akila," her mother started, "your father is very upset with you." "Please, Mama, if it's about Musa, I don't want to hear it. I can't love him." "This isn't just about how you feel, Akila. It's about us. It's about sacrifice." "I don't understand, Mama," she said. "Your father is in a big financial mess. You know how our cattle has been dying. He borrowed money from Alhaji Ahmed, and Alhaji promised to help him out after your marriage to his son. Mama, why should I be the family's sacrificial lamb?" Why should happiness, my own happiness, be sacrificed for money? I don't love Musa, and I can't marry him. Tell my father that I'm sorry, but I have to disobey him this time. Aisha sighed deeply. She didn't know what else to say or do. They both sat there in silence, each lost in their own thoughts and worries. The weight of their situation pressed down on them, and the quiet night seemed to echo their unspoken fears and hopes. Alhaji Ahmed was running out of patience, as Akila was not cooperating, but Ibrahim kept asking for more time. He was determined to make Akila do his bidding, even if it meant using harsh measures. Every evening, Akila would sneak into the bush where she had once met Hassan. She hoped to see him again, but always returned home sad as he was never there. Meanwhile, Hassan couldn't stop thinking about her since that day. One morning, Akila went to the market to buy fresh meat for cooking. That day, she saw him at the market. He was a butcher. Her joy knew no bounds, and she smiled brightly, showing how glad she was to see him again. I've prayed every day to see your beautiful face again. Hi, you're so beautiful, Hassan said. Akila smiled, not letting him know that she had been going to the bush every day to look for him. He gave her plenty of meat, and they both agreed to meet at a quiet river in their village, where they could have enough time to talk and catch up with each other. I'm always free every evening, Hassan said. Akila promised to make dinner early so she could sneak out and meet him. Her heart was filled with excitement and hope as she looked forward to their next meeting. Friendship with Hassan was everything Akila dreamed of and more. Hassan was a joyful young man who knew how to make Akila happy. At the riverbank, they would sit, talk, share their dreams and laugh together. Hassan had a sweet voice and loved music. Sometimes he brought his goje, a Hausa traditional instrument, and sang for Akila while she sat, playing and smiling shyly. Her happiness lay with Hassan, and to her Musa was already a part of the past. Or so she thought. Akila meant the world to Hassan. They were deeply in love with each other. One evening, as they were eating lunch at the riverbank, Hassan promised to take her to a special place. It's so beautiful, he said, and I know you will love it. Please, tell me where it is, Akila pressed on. Don't worry, it's my secret wonderland. Akila couldn't wait to see this secret wonderland. The next day, she finished her chores early and ran off. She was so excited to see this place that had been highly spoken of. It was a beauty to behold, and Akila loved it so much. She couldn't hold her breath as she watched the beautiful waterfall and the blue river. This sight is so breathtaking, Akila exclaimed. He turned to face her. Yes, it's beautiful, but its beauty cannot be compared with you. I love it here, but you are my heaven, Akila. I'm so in love with you. They could feel their breaths as they both stared at each other. They were both crazily in love. Meanwhile, Akila's mother was still trying to convince her to marry Musa. Musa couldn't believe that anyone would ever turn him down. Yes, Akila was beautiful, but that wasn't enough reason for her to be so full of herself. Maybe she was in love with someone else, he thought. He decided to find out. He paid someone to follow Akila every day and report on where she went. It didn't take long before he learned about her relationship with Hassan. When he discovered that Hassan was just an ordinary butcher, Musa was furious. What? Is she that cheap? He thundered angrily. For once, I thought maybe she was in love with the son of an emir. That would have made me feel better. But a butcher, that's a slap in the face. I won't let him win over me. Akila is my woman. Alhaji Ahmed was sad when he heard the news. I'm so disappointed in Akila, he said to Ibrahim. How could she leave my son for an ordinary butcher? I thought she was a wise girl. I'm so sorry, Ibrahim apologized. I will handle the situation. You better do. If my son didn't love your daughter, I would have called off this whole thing. This is becoming an embarrassment. Alhaji, trust me, I will handle this, Ibrahim pleaded. The atmosphere in Alhaji Ibrahim's compound was tense. He loved his daughter, but her refusal to marry Musa was eating him up. He had expected her to jump at the offer. This was looking really bad. How would he get the money he needed to pay back Ahmed if this didn't work out? He needed to find a way. He called his sons together and explained the situation. But father, Karim, his elder son, said, why don't we let Akila be with whom she wants? I also don't like Musa. He acts like he is better than everyone. I know we can't pay Alhaji now, but we are working hard. Things will get better. Now listen to me, Alhaji Ibrahim continued, ignoring Karim's suggestion. I want you all to teach that Busha Hassan a lesson he will never forget. He has to stay away from your sister. I won't give my daughter to a nobody. And that is final. Karim, you can allow your daughter Fatima marry a butcher when she grows up. Akila is just being silly. She doesn't know what love means. Sorry, Papa, Karim apologized. I didn't mean to make you angry. It was just a suggestion. Akila was unaware of the plan and went down the stream as usual. Unknown to her, she was being followed. Not long after she arrived, her brothers stormed the river and beat Hassan severely while Akila stood by screaming. He has done nothing, she kept saying. Hassan lay in a pool of his own blood when they left, dragging Akila with them. Akila cried as her brothers carried her away. He is going to die. Please, let me help him, she screamed. Alhaji Ibrahim instructed that they lock her up in a room when they got back home. She would stay there without food or water until she agreed to marry Musa. For days, all Akila did was cry. She wasn't even thinking about herself but Hassan. What if he had died in the bush? She cried endlessly. For 3 days, Akila didn't eat or drink anything. Aisha, her mother, became worried that she might die. On the 3rd night, she knelt down, pleading with her husband to set Akila free. That girl has been pampered too much. She needs to learn her lesson, Alhaji thundered. But Aisha refused to give up. I'm sure she must have learned. Please, free her, she cried. Go and speak to her. Once she agrees to marry Musa, I will release her, he said finally. Akila looked very weak when her mother came to her. You have to marry Musa, she said softly. I beg you, my daughter. You're also putting that young man's life at risk. Your father will do anything to make sure you marry Musa. Please. One thing her mother said made sense to her. She was putting Hassan's life at risk. She needed to be sure that he was still alive. I will marry him. I will marry Musa, if that's what you all want. Please, let me go, Mama. That same night, she was set free, and a date was set immediately for her marriage to Musa. Akila waited until she was sure everyone was asleep before she ran into the night. It was a long run, as Hassan lived at the edge of the village. She knocked at the door, but there was no response. She kept knocking. It was already late, so she didn't want to shout his name, even though she desperately wanted to see him. Her heart began to beat fast. Was he dead? If she didn't see him, she would go down the stream to search for him. She was just about to leave when she heard her name. She turned swiftly towards the noise. There in the dark stood Hassan. She ran to hug him, but he stopped her. No, Akila, don't do this, he said softly. But she couldn't ignore the sadness in his voice. Why, Hassan? I've come to check on you. I'm fine, and you can leave, he said, trying to sound rude. What? Hassan, I'm so sorry about what my brothers did to you. Please, I'm so sorry. I'm not mad at you for what your brothers did, but for what you did. You lied to me, Akila. You fooled me and toyed with my heart. How did you not tell me that you were betrothed to someone? I'm not sure I still know the meaning of being betrothed, Hassan, Akila said, shaking her head. My family is literally forcing me to marry Musa. Her voice was filled with pain. I don't love him, but they wouldn't listen to me. Hassan could feel the pain in her voice, but this love was becoming a threat to his life. He was a nobody, and he was the only child of his mother. If anything happened to him, what was his mother going to do? You need to leave now, Akila. We can't continue this. Your father would kill me if we continue, and my mother has no one else but me. Please go. Obey your father. No, Hassan. Please. We can run away, she cried, pleading. Hassan couldn't let her see he was also shedding tears. His heart broke to see her that way. He walked into his hut and shut the door. Akila fell on the ground and cried her heart out. When she had no more tears to shed, she picked herself up and walked back home, dejected. Her father was sitting in front of her hut when she got home that midnight. Where are you coming from? He thundered angrily. She stammered. Akila, I'm so disappointed in you. You went to see him, an ordinary butcher. Akila, I won't let you bring disgrace to me. He pushed her into her hut and shut the door. She was to remain indoors until the day of her marriage. The next morning, Hassan was arrested and locked up in a cell, a place where the village offenders were usually kept. Akila cried every day. How could her father want her to marry a man she didn't love? Her heart ached badly. She didn't know that Hassan was also locked up. Ibrahim had ordered that they give him no food or water. Each day, he was tortured for disobeying Al-Haji by continuing to see his daughter. Even though Hassan tried to explain that he had broken up with Akila, no one believed him. Hassan was worried about his poor mother. Who was going to take care of her, he thought. Karim began to feel bad about the whole situation. but he dared not go against his father. The marriage was fast approaching, and Akila was informed that Hassan had been captured by her father. If you don't behave well, he won't hesitate to kill him, her brothers warned her. This broke her down even more. At this point, Akila's heart was filled with rage. She was so angry at her father and everyone. She was never going to allow anything happen to Hassan. The next day was her marriage. By evening, her mother released her so she could breathe some fresh air and feel better before tomorrow's event. You must not do anything silly, she instructed. She offered comforting words and promised that all would go well. Akila listened without saying a word. The only thing she was thinking about was how to see Hassan. She felt so sorry that he had to go through all that just because of her. Musa visited Hassan in the prison. He wanted to know the man who had caught the fancy of Akila. Can you imagine, he said disgustingly when he met Musa. You? What does she see in you? What can you even give to her that I can't give her 10 times more? I know people like you, he laughed. Opportunist. You are marrying her because you think her family still has money. Nah. Let me bust your bubbles. Her family is broke right now and needs our family's money to get back on their feet. So, there's no money. But Musa is merciful. We are getting married tomorrow, and I want you to convince her that you don't love her. Tell me how much you need. I will give you some money to start life afresh. Come on, you are so poor and a poor man shouldn't be thinking about love. Akila was made for men like us. Hassan was boiling with anger within. Was this what Akila saw in him that made her refuse him? Letting her marry him meant subjecting her to everlasting suffering. This man before him was a narcissist, and he didn't deserve Akila. He is poor, but not a coward. There and then, he decided he was going to fight for their love. Why are you silent? Musa asked. I said, how much do you need? I don't need your money, he said through a tightened throat. Musa burst into laughter. All right then, he said, clapping his hands. I guess you are trying to play the hero. Hero lover boy. Good job. I was just trying to be nice. But if you try anything funny, I will kill you with my bare hands. With that, he stormed off. Akila managed to secretly pass a message to her brother Karim, asking for his help. Karim, who was feeling guilty and conflicted, agreed to meet her in secret. Karim, you have to help me, Akila pleaded. This is not just about me anymore. Hassan's life is in danger. I know, Akila, Karim said, his voice filled with remorse. But what can we do? Father is so strict and he won't listen to reason. Please, I just need to see him. Help me, he pleaded. Karim, who was respected by the guards, managed to talk to them, and they agreed to allow Akila see Hassan. Hassan was in a pitiable state when Akila saw him. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She had secretly brought him some food, but he couldn't eat. All he wanted was to go. I'm getting married tomorrow, she said amid her tears. My father will free you. Hassan was silent, his heart broken into pieces. He held her hands. I'm sorry about the way I spoke to you the other night. I was swallowed in my own problems, but I'm more determined now. I'm poor, but not a coward. Let's fight for this love we share. I don't want to let you go, Akila. A smile creased Akila's face. I love you, Hassan. We will find a way. I have to go before my father finds me here. She stood up and ran back to her hut after promising to check on Hassan's mother and send some food to her. That night, Akila couldn't sleep. Her mind was racing with plans and fears. She knew the risk, but she also knew she couldn't live life without love. As dawn approached, she made up her mind. She would fight for her love, no matter what it took. The morning of the wedding arrived, and the village buzzed with excitement. Akila's family was busy with preparations, but she felt like she was in a different world. Her thoughts were only on Hassan and her future. As the ceremony began, Akila's heart pounded. She saw Musa standing proudly, waiting for her, but her mind was elsewhere. She had made up her mind to act. When she was brought out, Akila looked so sad. The sight of Musa greatly angered her, and she knew that she couldn't go through with this. She turned to Alhaji Ahmed and said, I'm sorry, sir, but I can't marry your son. I love someone else and my father won't allow me to be with him. Please, I don't mean to disrespect you, but I can't do this. Then she turned to Musa and said, I'm sorry. With that, she ran out of the living room. Everyone was astounded. I've had enough of these insults, Alhaji Ahmed thundered. What nonsense is this? Musa, let's go. I'm done with this and can't take this rubbish anymore. Let's go. Ibrahim tried to calm them down, but he stormed out angrily. Musa looked so sad as he left Ibrahim's house. All hell broke loose. Alhaji Ibrahim was furious. Akila has chosen to ruin our lives. I will make sure she never marries that dirty butcher. I will teach her a bitter lesson, he thundered. The days that followed were unusually quiet. Ibrahim was still very angry. His wife had tried to calm him down, but all her efforts had been in vain. Akila was kept under strict watch, confined to her room and forbidden from seeing anyone. Akila felt trapped and hopeless, but she refused to give up. She knew she had to find a way to be with her son. 2 days later, while still deep in his mourning, Alhaji Ibrahim received a message from the emir. A group of terrorists were camping in the forest close to their kingdom, and an attack was imminent. They needed to act quickly. Immediately, an idea popped into Ibrahim's head. Hassan. Sending him to war would be the easiest way to get rid of him. He gathered his men and informed them of this plan. Hassan was to be placed at the front, where it would be easy for him to be killed. Akila was furious when she heard this. She stormed into her father's room with tears streaming down her face. She had never felt this surge of anger in her entire life. Papa, to think that I always looked up to you and wanted to be like you. I'm disappointed in myself for ever wanting to be like you. And I'm not sure what Hassan now thinks of you. You know, the first time I saw him, he called you his role model. But you are wicked and selfish. I know your plans. You want him to die. But please, Papa, she said, going down on her knees. Please, Hassan is not a warrior, and he has no training. He hasn't even eaten in days. He will die. Don't do this to him. Alhaji looked at his daughter. I'm sorry, but I have to. He loves you, right? If he comes back from this war alive, I will let him marry you. You know it's not possible, Papa. Hassan is not a warrior. He's the only thing his mother has. Then, this conversation is over. I can't give my daughter to a weakling. Now, leave my sight, he thundered. Akila left, feeling utterly defeated. At this point, she was resigned to marrying Musa. She knew she couldn't leave if anything happened to Hassan. She decided she would personally apologize to Musa and Alhaji Ahmed. But first, she needed to see Hassan. She couldn't understand the emotions on his face when she saw him. He looked calm. Wipe your tears, Akila. I will go to the forest and fight for our love. Hassan, this is not some folktale, Akila said. This is real life. You will be killed. Those men are trained, and you have never trained in your entire life. Akila, do not worry. I will go and I won't die like my father. Wait for me. He sounded so confident that Akila thought he might be going mad. Okay, Akila said. I will wait for you. That same evening, the men set out for the forest, Hassan with them. They met the terrorists halfway through the forest and began fighting. Hassan fought with such skill and strength that the men were shocked. He knew how to wield a sword and shoot an arrow. The terrorist had guns, and he managed to get hold of one, which he used skillfully. The men were astonished. Soon, many dead bodies lay on the ground, and a few remaining terrorists jumped into the river, knowing that he had been overpowered. Hassan was very weak, as the few men who remained rejoiced and celebrated him. They hadn't believed he would survive, but he had actually saved them. Alhaji Ibrahim had ordered the chief warrior to kill Hassan if he survived the fight. As they were celebrating, the chief warrior took out his sword to slay him, but an arrow pierced through his head at that moment, and he slumped and died instantly. Everyone turned to see what had happened, and it was Akila. Unable to bear losing Hassan, she had disguised herself as a man, stolen her father's weapon, and headed for the forest. She hid somewhere watching the fight. What she saw wasn't what she had expected. Hassan had fought so hard that tears rolled down her cheeks. He had given her his word that he would come back for her, and he had fought so hard to stay for her. The more she watched him, the more her admiration for him grew, and thus her love for him. She almost jumped out when the fight ended. Hassan had survived. Amidst the celebration of his victory, she noticed some strange movements. She had seen the chief warrior earlier with her father and sensed that he was up to no good. Then, she saw him pull out his sword, and she attacked him first, swiftly. The other men wanted to fight back, but when they saw it was Akila, they refrained. Hassan hugged her passionately. "Why did you come?" he asked. "What if you had died?" "My life would have no meaning without you," she said. "I can't sit and watch you die without doing anything." He hugged her again as they both cried tears of joy. "Where did you learn to fight so well?" she asked. "I trained in the military, but my mother wouldn't let me join the army. or become a warrior. She is scared that I would die. And you, he asked. Should you even be asking me that? My father is a warrior, and I watched him train so many times. I'm so sorry you had to go through all this. No, you don't have to be sorry. I would do it over and over again for your sake, Hassan replied. When they got back to the village, the emir was so happy to hear the good news, and Hassan was the hero of the day. Ibrahim had heard how Akila risked her life for Hassan's sake and knew that there was nothing he could do to stop this love. He had tried his best and it hadn't worked. He gave up as he was a man who stood by his word. Who are you, young man? The emir asked when he met Hassan at the palace. He had heard the story of how Hassan fought and was impressed. He had also asked to see him. I am Hassan, the son of late Caliphat Bello. Wait, what? You mean Caliphat the warrior? The emir asked. Yes, sir. Tears filled the emir's eyes. I have been searching for you. I was with your father the day he died, and he left a message for you. Your mother ran away with you, and I didn't know how to find you or when you returned to this kingdom. He paused to wipe his tears. Your father died trying to save my life. I feel indebted to him forever. I'm so happy for the man you've become. Your father's strength lives in you, and he must be so proud of you. He took Hassan to a piece of land at the end of the village. The land was said to be barren, but it was a special gift. It belonged to Bello, and Hassan was his only child. The emir had ensured to keep this place safe, hoping and praying that he would find Bello's son one day. Your father asked me to give this piece of land to you. He felt satisfied to have fulfilled Bello's last wish. He was so happy, and Hassan was grateful. He thanked the emir immensely. He went back to the land a few days later. It looked deserted. No single plant was growing there. As he stared at it, wondering what he would do with this very piece of land, something caught his eyes. Shiny little stones. He bent down and peered closer. Behold, it was gold. He began to dig, and as he dug deeper, he found more. He began screaming in the middle of the forest. I am rich! I am rich! He exclaimed. He was wild with joy. He ran home to share the good news with Akila and his mother. Months later, Hassan got married to Akila in a lavish ceremony. He had become so rich and had also helped Alhaji come out of his debts. Alhaji Ibrahim was so ashamed of himself. He regretted all he did to Hassan for his own selfish reasons. Akila forgave her family for all they put her through. It had turned into a blessing in disguise. Hassan became very rich from selling the gold he found on the land. He bought many lands, built several houses, and owned the biggest farmlands in the kingdom. Akila was so happy. Hassan was the best decision she had made in her entire life. They lived their best lives, happily and forever. Hey besties, thank you for watching this amazing story, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. I would like you to drop your comments in the comments section and share your lessons also, so that we all can learn from it. If you are yet to subscribe to our channel, please do not skip this video without hitting on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified whenever we post new stories. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And thank you so much for all your amazing support. It's wonderful and I couldn't have wished for a better fans than you are. Thank you so much for your encouragement and your beautiful comments. Right now, I'll have to go and see you in our next story. Bye!